Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show. This is episode number 96. The show is available live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation is your home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please give us a follow on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can also follow just the Andy Campbell shows on all social media platforms at A.C.E Footy Show. And, of course, you can download the audio versions of every single show, football or otherwise, at your favourite podcast radio platform. Just search Ace Podcast Nation. Just as we do wait for those platforms to fill up and the chat to fill up, big thank you to Black Diamond Sports. Black Diamond Sports, a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages as well as their brand new website, all of which there's links to in the description below and the closing credits at the end of the show. Today's sponsor is Bespoke Financial, and here's a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover. Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial is currently giving away a free whale worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So check them out, give them a ring, see some of the products they're offering, and don't miss out because that is an amazing offer. He's looked after Andy for many a year, including for the critical illness and the injury cover. And like I said before, they're truly the top of their field. They're award-winning service, and we're very proud to partner with such a brand. And most importantly, we thank them for sponsoring the show. So, joining me first of all is none other than the goal collector, the fox in the box. He is David Jones's favourite son, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, the speed demon, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
How are you, mate? Super excited tonight. This one's been a long time coming for me. I've been stalking our guest for, that sounds pretty wrong, that, doesn't it? I've been following our guest for quite a while and been offering our services for quite a while, but timing's everything. And what happened at the weekend, which we're going to talk about, I think it'll be a quite interesting conversation. So, yeah, really looking forward to this one.
That's it, mate. That's it. It's all about the timing. And, fresh off his winning goal on the weekend is Reading defender, Mr. Michael Morrison, joining us. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
How you doing, guys? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, feeling positive. I probably should have come on after the Cardiff game a little bit earlier and talked about that goal.
Get it in early. That's what I like to see. But, it's good to have you, mate. So what we'll do to start us off is we'll go straight into the Magnificent Seven. 7 quick-fire questions. Just answer whatever comes to mind. Gets the people to know your tastes and whatnot. And then we'll be away. Okay, Michael Morrison, the Magnificent Seven. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Favorite TV show?
MasterChef.
Okay. Funniest teammate?
Josh Laurent at the moment.
Shocked. Good answer. Angriest teammate with an example. Oof.
Rafael Cabrera, the goalkeeper at our place. Anything he can moan at. If there's not something not quite right, he will constantly be having a go and making sure the back four are all sorted. We were 2-0 up at the weekend, and he was still having a go at it, making sure he got his clean sheet.
Well, which takes us into the next question, which is scoring a goal or a clean sheet.
Scoring a goal, I think. I don't get too many, so I quite enjoy scoring a goal. I'd say that's the best feeling you can get.
No, I like that.
It's a difficult one, though, isn't it? Because I read about John Terry, and John Terry always swore about keeping clean sheets and his joy and his despair after not keeping them. But then all of a sudden, when he scored, he loved scoring goals, and every centre half loves scoring goals. Every player loves scoring goals because it's a feeling, it's that buzz. But keeping clean sheets then is a goal for a centre half and a goalkeeper. It's difficult, isn't it?
It's one of them. It's part of your job. So if you score, you do something that you're not supposed to do. So I always feel like it's that little extra bit special because centre halves and defenders don't score that much. You have to enjoy it when you can.
So then look at the other side of it then, Si. So what about the other side then, Michael? How disappointing then is it to let a goal in? You know what I mean, from a defender's point of view and a goalkeeper's point of view, because as a centre forward, if you don't score, it's one of them things. But letting a goal in is obviously worse for the team.
I think the things when you get disappointed when you let a goal in when it's been a sloppy one, especially, I mean, we played Forest at the weekend. If we'd have let one in and give away that clean sheet, that easy sort of clean sheet that you can get, they're some of the most frustrating ones. When somebody's made, you kind of make a mistake when it should have been there for the clean sheet, because you do tally them up over the season. You look to get, if you're going to be up near the playoffs, you need at least 15.
Yeah, totally agree.
And last couple of questions, nice and easy. Laziest trainer?
Lucas Yao, without a doubt.
No hesitation.
So getting him to run around is hard work, but he's scoring goals,
when he scores goals, don't care. Exactly. We've had a few of them, Si, haven't we? We've had a few of them mentioned.
Oh yeah,
it's always strikers.
Yeah, right. Two right.
And finally, is the greatest Englishman who ever lived. Doesn't have to be football related.
That's a tough one. That. I don't know on that. It's Winston Churchill springs to mind straight away. Football wise, I'm not sure who I'd put on for football. Not sure.
Tough one, that, isn't it?
It's a good one,
like,
yeah. Especially when you get put on the
spot.
I like it.
For that one, guys.
Yeah, I like it.
I often think about that. If I got asked the same question, I think my mind would go blank and I just wouldn't be able to remember anybody. So
you wouldn't know.
I was just making sure I said an English person who didn't embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Jock Steam.
Yeah, I don't think we've had that. Have we? But anyone else has got anything wrong?
No, I don't think so. Maybe they have though, and we just haven't noticed.
Well, yeah, probably, possibly.
But so that's the Magnificent Seven. So as usual, starting us off, we're gonna have any other business. I think we'll start in the Premier League, and we'll finish on any other business in the Championship. The Premier League is looking open, but just very quickly, and before this, I just someone just sent me this. So Man United are on a good run, in there at the moment in terms of results. And
in the league.
In the league, like even before that loss to Paris, they were doing quite well. So everything is going smoothly. And Bruno Fernandes is excellent. Cavani's been in good form. They're looking great. And then Paul Pogba's played on the weekend, and by all accounts, it's his first start for a long time, and he was very, very good. Today, after they've had this win, and I think they're 2 points off the top of the league, his agent has come out and said Paul Pogba is unhappy at Man United and he needs to change teams. If I was Solskjaer, I would never play him again, ever. I would sell him in January because, how can you build a team spirit and momentum for them when they're already playing catch-up? And every time he's in the squad or every time he plays, his agent just comes out and just causes issues. And I
don't think he's the first sign. He certainly won't be the last. This time of year, you've got players. I'm sure a player from Newcastle United did it to Steve Bruce the other day, trying to cause problems, trying to cause unrest.
He's not exactly tearing it up though, mate, is he? Do you know what I mean?
No, but he's trying to get his player a move, basically. You know what I mean? He's going to get a player a big move. If he stays, if he leaves. Would you sell him if you're a Man United fan? Personally, I wouldn't, because I see that the positives he gives United. I know he's a big player on big money, but I think we're missing he's a World Cup winner. He's a World Cup winner. You can't buy them. Can't buy them.
All right, and here's a question for both of you then. One current, one ex-player. How many years can he dine out on the fact he's a World Cup winner before you've got to say he's not doing it for United? Like, they paid a lot of money for him. They're paying him at least 300 grand a week, probably more with everything else on top. Like,
is that for Michael?
Yeah, I'll ask Michael first.
I think
it doesn't have to be Pogba specific.
I think the problem with the Pogba one is I think you'll look at it like Lukaku. You know, they'll go somewhere else and do so well, and everybody will be looking at it going, well, why have they got rid of him? You know, Lukaku, perfect example, doing really well, scoring against England for Belgium, and I think that'll be the issue that you have with Pogba leaving. He'll go and set it alight somewhere, and then questions then will get asked about why they let him go and didn't carry on trying to get the best out of him, because he's obviously a talented player.
But then with Lukaku, I would say the main issue wasn't necessarily Lukaku. Apart from he was like, I think he was quite big for what he normally is, like in terms of weight. Like for United, I think they didn't suit the way he wanted to. Like he wanted it, to feet and to play off it, and I think they just wanted to play a bit quicker. And I think you could see that by the players they've signed. They've signed predominantly forwards who are going to play in, running in behind, and midfielders who were going to thread those balls through. So I get what you mean, because he's got, look, he's gone to Italy and scored. We talked about it the other weekend, didn't we? He scored a ridiculous amount of goals in what's traditionally one of the hardest leagues to score goals in. Like my question, Mike, what do you think about it? And how long can he dine out on the fact that he's a World Cup winner?
Forever, as long as he wants to do it.
So he could be crap every week the rest of his career, but it's all right because
but if he's not playing, he's not playing crap every week, is he? You know what I mean? If he's not being very consistent. You know what I mean? He's not playing, but then he comes on against West Ham at half time or starts the game and he plays really well. So you know what I mean? For me, he's picking and choosing when he plays. Plays well, sorry. He's dipping his toe in when he wants to do, and I think that's obviously annoying fans. You know what I mean? For me, he excels when he's on that big stage. He excels in front of the crowd. He's a showboat, you know what I mean? And he enjoys the publicity. He enjoys the hype, and players like that will come to the front when crowds come back in. I 100% believe that. And I mean, you don't win the World Cup if you're a bad player. You don't play for Juventus if you're a bad player. You don't be a Man United legend if you're a bad player. You know what I mean? I think the hype of being a footballer now, and I'm on about a top world-class footballer, because he's in that bracket, regardless how we like it or we don't like it. He's a world-class footballer. He's earned that tag by playing well, by getting the moves, by transfer fees, by World Cups, by runs in the European Champions League. He's a very good footballer. Listen, I didn't like it years ago when he was on social media all the time. I haven't seen that for a long time, so I don't know if he's come off Instagram.
He's been very quiet.
You know what I mean? So he's being very quiet. So he's concentrating on something else. He's not throwing it in front in people's faces. So I give him the benefit of the doubt for that. I just want to see his feet do the talking a little bit more, if I'm honest, and just show how good he can be on a regular basis and go to that other level.
Do you think it's a bit unfortunate for him that he's had this? He has been injured, and then he's come when in the time he's been out with this injury. You've had Bruno Fernandes come in, and he's been exceptional every week, pretty much. And then even Van der Beek's come in and done all right when he's come there. So he's almost got more pressure on him again because the other midfielders are performing so well. Like Paul Pogba always has that pressure on him because of who he is and because of how good. People seem to forget how good he was for Juventus. Like he was exceptional and he deserved his world-class tag. He just hasn't worked for United, but it doesn't mean it can't. Reece says, is it him or is it his agent just trying to get another big money move by moving one of his players on? It's difficult to say, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, I mean, Michael and you would be in a better position to tell me, but I would have thought if he wanted his agent to stop talking to the media about X, Y, and Z, he could say, listen, please stop talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's happened too often for it just to be the agent. It seems to be, every window that comes up or discussion, he seems to be talking about it. So it does seem like they're aligned. I think if there was a problem, you'd have shut that down a little bit earlier. It does seem to be this talk of him leaving by his agent quite frequently. And he hasn't really stood out and said, no, that's not right. So looks to me like there could be some truth behind it.
Is this also though because he likes the attention? He likes to be at the talk of everybody. Because let's be honest, he's not the talk at United because Fernandes is a better fit at the minute. The way that he's playing, the way that United fit round him, the way that he takes penalties, the way that he has assists, he scores goals. He's a better fit for United at the minute. So you know what I mean? Is that why he's someone else is taking the pressure off his client, his friend, however you may want to build it up and doing it in the public eye?
I mean, it could be, couldn't it? It wouldn't be beyond the realms of anything. But, you know, I think for Man U, they've got to look how they can get the best out of both of them on the football pitch. Because, you know, if you can get the best out of both of them two players, then, you know, it's certainly going to improve Man U for definite. Yeah. I think the expectation of Paul Pogba, every game he's got to be the best player. And you can't do that. It's difficult. And the expectation is, you know, if he doesn't score or he doesn't assist, then, he's had a bad game. And sometimes that's not the case. And yes, he probably does need more goals and assists, but I still think there's a great player there. And I think the problem that they have is the expectation of everybody is for him to be controlling and winning games for Man U. And,
totally agree.
Probably agree. As a team, they haven't lived up to that mantra that Man U have had over previous years. You know, certainly under Sir Alex Ferguson, it's a difficult time to play at Man U at the moment because they are flagging behind the likes of Liverpool, Man City, and it's a big challenge to get back up there. As Arsenal can see at the moment, I'm an Arsenal fan, and they look in a lot of trouble, not even anywhere near it.
So here's a question for you, Michael, actually on Arsenal, quickly. Sorry, only because literally when I was having my coffee before we did this, I was outside having a coffee and I was on Facebook and the videos were playing and then another one plays. And I came across Arsenal Fan TV and they would say they did a show or a clip or whatever after Saturday's game. And the guy who was talking Troops or DT, I don't know who they are, but one of them said that he thinks Arteta should be sacked because he's that bad. And I was quite shocked by that. At the time, I didn't realize they were 15th, I got to say. But equally, because I remember not too long ago, I think it was when they beat United comfortably, everyone was on social media and these sorts of things saying how he's phenomenal. He's going to be the second coming of Pep and this, that, and the other. Where do you stand as an Arsenal fan on that type of hyperbole, I suppose?
I suppose you want to trust them and you want to keep the faith and give somebody a lot of time, but they also need to buy that time by winning football games. It's trying to build the plane while it's still flying, and it's a difficult job. And I think wins buy you extra credit with fans, and ultimately it's not been good enough for results short term, but there is a long term goal there, and whether they can sign players, and Arteta will say I need more quality. But I think the interesting stat is I think the creative chances is probably one of the lowest in the league, and I think that's what frustrates fans when you've got somebody like Aubameyang that you've got to give a big contract to, and you're not providing goals for him, or Lacazette in behind not scoring enough goals, and whether that's chances, style of football, that's what's going to get questions when you don't have them chances.
I think though, Si, with me, Arsenal have struggled, especially over the last 4 or 5 seasons, and Michael will probably agree with me, is defensively. Everyone said that they're all over the place defensively. They let too many goals in. I think that, especially under Arteta, I think he's really helped that. I think they're more solid. But like Michael just said there, that's been taken away from their attacking style. So if he's made them defensively more strong as a unit, as a group, as a defensive unit, but then going forward, they're not creating as many chances, they're not scoring as many goals. And when Michael just named him, Aubameyang, he must be starved of chances. He's starved of. He doesn't look happy. You know what I mean? You see him at his happiest when he's scoring goals, when he's running in behind, when he's coming off the line, and he's coming to feet, going long. I just feel so frustrated for him because in Europe they seem to be creating chances, scoring goals. When he comes to the Premier League, it's a different animal. I know they're only playing Europa League, but they're in a decent group where they're able to create chances and scoring goals. But unfortunately, when they're playing in the Europa League, he's playing quite a lot of the younger players anyway, and they're using their pace, using their enthusiasm and quality to create their chances and scoring goals. But I think sometimes you've got to get the unit right and make sure it's consistent through league and cup as well, because you know what I mean. At the league at the minute, massive game at the weekend against Arsenal Spurs, and the fans will be absolutely distraught the way it ended, because they've normally got a good record in the North London derby.
Yeah.
I just didn't see him going to score as well.
No.
I know Tottenham got men behind the ball and countered and whatnot, but you just didn't. There wasn't any times I was out my seat thinking, "Oh, we're going to score here." It was put the ball in the box and a bit hopeful. There wasn't enough intricate play, I didn't think, and I think a few people criticised Aubameyang for not getting in the box, and trying to get across the defenders, but I did think they needed to be a little bit more guile in what they would do when they got the ball out wide, for definite. I
totally agree. On that, Michael, obviously being an Arsenal fan, obviously this is news to us. And Mesut Ozil, what's your thoughts on Mesut Ozil? You know what I mean? He takes a lot of stick off football fans. He takes a lot of stick off Arsenal fans. He's very opinionated about his own ethos, his own ethics, is the way he believes in certain things. But let's be honest, he's a world-class footballer. So, you know what I mean? Everyone just wants him out there playing football, right?
I think it's really difficult. Yeah, you want to see, somebody like that. You want to see that talent on the football pitch. And I think it becomes more of a talking point the worse you do. If Arsenal were 5th or 4th, I don't think you start having this conversation. You say, right, you've made the right plan. You're going with the team. You're leaving Ozil out because of X, Y, and Z. And it doesn't matter. But when results aren't going so well, then that's when you start questioning, why is he not involved? Do we need him back? And he's one of the best players in the Premier League when he's on his day. There's obviously something that's gone on behind the scenes, whether it's with the last manager or the ownership. Because if I've got somebody like Ozil in my team, I want him out on the football pitch, regardless of what he's been paid and what's been said by his political views and stuff. He's there to play football for you. You're paying him a lot of money. You've got to get him involved, whether you think he's not quite performing to his best. A half Ozil, somebody that can perform half as good as Ozil is going to be useful. If it's half as good as what he was when he first came, I think he's worth a shot again. But like I say, I totally agree. Behind the scenes, because it looks like there must be something going on.
Yeah, and this is my concern though, Si, for me, because the boy's a footballer, or the man's a footballer. He wants to go and play football. You know what I mean? He's very outspoken. His political views are very unique to himself, and especially within football because his own beliefs. For me, he's still got another 6, 7, 8 years playing professional football if he wants to do it. You know what I mean? At whatever level, and if he's not careful, it's going to end up hampering his next move, because Michael mentioned there about money. You know what I mean? And what annoys me is Piers Morgan, especially. You know what I mean? Very, very opinionated on Twitter, and always picks him out, and it's always quite.
Sorry to interrupt you, Andy. I don't like to interrupt you. I just want to say something. Well, Mesut Ozil is a World Cup winner.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, so
doesn't matter. That's why we want to see it. That's why we want to see it.
It doesn't matter. He can play crap. He can play crap for the rest of his life.
He can that's what I said. I would love.
Week as well, man.
I would love him. I would love him on the pitch week in, week out. I'd love him in my team, because
superb.
He's missing. Arsenal are missing creativity. He's a perfect number 10. You know what I mean? He won't run in behind. He'll get on the ball. He'll always be looking for the ball. He'll get the ball from everybody. But how can he set chances up? How can he score goals? How can he be involved in a game if he's sat in a stand or sat on his backside? It's just impossible. Impossible.
So, my question is then, very quickly, before we move on to something else, because I want to ask you something else, but I just thought of this. I'm not sure how old is Ozil. I think he's late 20s, isn't he, at least?
Yeah.
Paul Pogba's mid-20s. I would suggest that Paul Pogba is probably more likely to get a top move. I don't think he'll get the Madrid move he wants, but like Juventus or someone will come in for him. Do you think someone will come in for Ozil, like one of the real big boys? Still.
Me? Do I think? Well, listen. If he becomes available for a free transfer, there'll have people knocking on the door. Because if Arsenal want rid, you know what I mean, and there's problems there, they'll have to get rid, and the only way to get rid is by letting him go on a free. Because,
32.
You know what I mean? They're not gonna get a transfer fee for him. You know what I mean? So for me, depends on where he wants to go. You know what I mean? I see some experienced players going over abroad to play, going in China to play, going into Japan to play. Iniesta scored in the Champions League today for his Japanese side. You know what I mean? There's options to go and play wherever you want for the next 5, 6, 7 years. You know what I mean? If you're that good and you can keep yourself in shape and fit and healthy, you know what I mean? You can still be running games like Iniesta is now. You know what I mean? So for me, but he needs to play. You know, if he's got an appetite to play and he wants to play and he's hungry and it's not about money, for me, go and play. Go and play.
I think his wage is a problem. I think China is probably the most likeliest destination for him, if I'm honest.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I would say China or America. If someone like Nike or Adidas was to contribute to to the big signing fee, I could imagine him going there. So
Derby County could get him, couldn't they?
Yeah, they'll get what was it, bet 32.
Boom, boom.
Wayne will have
Boom,
to give his number up, won't he?
Yeah. Ozil 32.
That's a sore subject. No, anyway. So we're going to talk about the Premier League being so open. Andy, I put a question to you. I can't remember if we did it on the show or if we just said we were going to do it on the show. If Tottenham Hotspur win the league this year, does that make Jose Mourinho the greatest manager of all time?
I wouldn't say the greatest of all time. I wouldn't say the greatest of all time because I look at the amount of times that Fergie won the league. You know what I mean? I would put him up there with the very best to win it with different clubs. It would put him up there with the very best because of what he's achieved in football. But for me, it's also about consistency. Can he win it back to back with Spurs? That'd be interesting. Yeah. Can Jurgen Klopp win it back to back? You know what I mean? I think Guardiola's done it back to back, but then obviously the third one didn't happen, and obviously now he's fighting to get it back. Listen, he's a world class manager. He's an unbelievable manager. You know what I mean? His tactics work for certain clubs. They don't work for other clubs. They didn't work at United. You know what I mean? He's got luxury me with Spurs. That the way the Spurs play defensively and work and hit on the break, for me, it just works. It works in his favour. You know what I mean? The way that Son plays, the way that Lucas Moura plays, Bergwijn plays. I think he's very lucky. That doesn't make him a bad manager, by the way. But I think he's very lucky with the way that his
squad he's come into is very good. But Poch didn't get. Poch didn't win the league with Tottenham.
I agree.
He consistently got him in the top four, etc. He did a decent job. So my question is, which other manager in history has won the league with Porto, Chelsea, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Chelsea, and then gone on to Tottenham? And by the way, still won a Europa League and a League Cup or something with United or whatever it was. So, he's a serial winner, but people often say the difference between Ronaldo and Messi is the fact that Ronaldo has done it in 3 different countries.
Yeah.
So my question is, if Mourinho does it with Spurs, by the way, Spurs haven't won the league since whatever it is, the 50s. Does that make him the best ever?
In my opinion, I'd say I would say no. I wouldn't say the best ever, but it reiterates his world-class management skills, and he'll keep doing it because for me, if he does win the league at Spurs, I'd probably stay another year and then he'll go somewhere else and go and win the league somewhere else. That could be another country, a different country, and just to keep on using his skills. But then Guardiola, you could use him as also a similar example. He's done it in Spain, he's done it in England, he's done it in Germany. He's won the Champions League a number of times. Listen, you know what I mean? Just because he hasn't been at as many clubs or as many countries as Jose, then, you know what I mean? But he's also won over Jose when he was Barcelona manager.
I also would say if the Manchester United board had backed Jose Mourinho, he would have won the league with United. The problem was when they weren't going to back him with the players he wanted. And to me, that's ridiculous. If you're going to appoint Jose Mourinho as your manager, you have to back him in the transfer window. Otherwise, there's no point. What do you think on that, Michael? If he was to win the league with Spurs, which I know would be a sore point for yourself. 1961 was the last time Spurs won it. That's a long time.
That's a long time ago.
Would it make him the greatest ever?
I think if he does it,
sheer volume of it.
I think so. I think when you look at the Tottenham team as well, and what it has achieved in recent years, it's different to when you look at Guardiola going to Bayern Munich, for instance. There's already a feeling of success there, and Tottenham obviously haven't won very much in recent years. So for him to go and change the mentality and bring success to Tottenham will make it extra special. I know Jurgen Klopp's done that at Liverpool, but they've got a little bit more tradition there at Liverpool than what Tottenham probably have. So I'd say
they've won Champions Leagues, haven't they?
Yeah, I'd say it's a fantastic achievement if he can do that, and I would say that puts him right up there. Obviously winning in Italy and Spain and England, and to do it again with Tottenham would be very impressive.
How painful would it be, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Spurs fans who won't let me forget it, that's for sure. So Yeah, where I am, it's Arsenal or Spurs.
Yeah,
so,
difficult.
I'll
Difficult.
definitely
Isn't it?
stick down
I
the
think it's
club.
always difficult, isn't it? Because the amount of success you've had as an Arsenal fan, and you know what I mean, with the unbeatables, and it's just, you know what I mean, it's just an unbelievable time. You know, I remember playing against the Dennis Bergkamps, Mark Overmars, and Elka Vieira, Petit. It was just an unbelievable bunch of footballers, and it was just, you know what I mean, you could just tell that success was never going to, under Wenger. It was, you know what I mean. You're on about world-class managers again. You just Arsene Wenger, you know that,
isn't it?
Yeah. And this is the thing, and you know it's going to be a transition when managers leave and other managers come along, because United had it, Arsenal have had it, you know what I mean. Other managers have had it, and it's so difficult. Liverpool will have it, Man City will have it. When those managers leave, they'll have it again, because the pressure to follow those kind of managers, style of football, results, trophies, it's going to be difficult.
And the other thing, Spurs haven't even won a trophy.
Yeah, I think that's why that role of.
Go on, mate. Sorry, that was my fault. I was just jumping in with a fact.
I've lost you then. Sorry.
Sorry, that was my fault there, Michael. I jumped in on your point. There's got a few questions in there. And realistically, which teams do you think are in the Premier League title race currently? Who can realistically win it?
I think you've got to look at the top six. You have to. You've got to look at the Tottenham, the Chelsea. Chelsea under Frank. I think Frank's doing an absolutely fantastic job. I think he, from the position he took over last year, with not being able to sign players, his signings, what he's made, has been nothing short of remarkable. You know, he's filled in the holes that he needed to fill. He's brought in even more quality than I even thought he would have done. Some of the players that he's brought in are surprising me. You know what I mean? The way that he's playing. You know, even bringing in Silva, you know what I mean, to play in defence, I thought, you know what I mean, for me, I think his legs had gone in the Champions League final. I thought he was a little bit too old. I thought he's got some good young players there who could fill the gaps, you know what I mean, but he's just oozing class, and he's just helping those younger players come through. And Ben Chilwell, I think, has been a breath of fresh air. I think he's helping them one side, Daniel James the other. It's like having wingers as fullbacks. It's great to watch. And will I continue it? I hope they do, for his sake. I still don't think you can rule out Liverpool. I still don't think you can rule out Man City's and Man United's. But there's Leicester City. You know, I watched them yesterday. They've got a way of winning. You know what I mean? Brendan's doing a great job. And any team who's got Jamie Vardy in the team, stay fit Jamie Vardy, and they could be up there all the way through to the top 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? If they can get Champions League players again, great. But at the minute, you've got to have the top six.
So Gaz has just asked on YouTube. He's asked us to name our top 4 for the end of the season. I guarantee you that mine will not be the same as your two. Michael, we'll start with you. Who do you think is going to be the top 4?
Andy just sold Chelsea to me there, so I'm going to go Chelsea top, Liverpool second, Man City third, Tottenham fourth.
He's enjoyed putting Spurs fourth there, Andy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna follow suit with one, because I think Frank's done a great job, and he deserves something this year. You know what I mean? I think with how he's become a manager, and how he's, you know what I mean, and it's just the way he does things. He's methodical. He uses class. You know what I mean? He did it as a player, and he's just following on as a manager. It makes you sick, really. You know what I mean? How good a player he was to then follow on as a manager. It just drives you mad. But so I'll go Chelsea 1. I'll go Liverpool 2, Man City 3. You know, Spurs will have to be 4th, then, won't they? So, because I think there's 3 of the better teams ahead of them. Okay. Then I feel sorry for Brendan. So,
yeah, guys, tell us what your top 4 will be in the chat.
Can I guess yours first?
Yeah, go on then. If you get it right, I'll give you a prize.
Man United first.
No.
Man United second. Man United third. Man United fourth.
Nah, come on, you still be silly. So I think Tottenham are going to win the league.
Ooh, controversial.
Because Mourinho is a serial winner. I think Liverpool are going to get relegated. No, I mean, Tottenham to win the league. I think Chelsea will finish second. I think Manchester City will finish third. And I think Everton will finish 4th.
Everton, yeah.
I would never have guessed that.
I told you.
Never have guessed that.
Calvert-Lewin's
got to stay fit then.
Yeah,
unless the buy
between Everton and West Ham, mate. I think either one of those.
West Ham.
West Ham, been very impressive this year, mate.
Brave.
I've watched him a few games. I'm just knowledgeable, mate.
Whatever you do, don't bet on him. Don't have a bet on him in the bookies or anything, please.
No, I don't bet anymore, mate, do I? So it's fine. It's a sore subject. Michael, you scored on the weekend. Thankfully, this time it wasn't against Cardiff. Gavin's not happy that I didn't put Liverpool in there. Sorry, Gavin, but I just got to give my honest opinions. He's a Liverpool fan, isn't he? So, Michael, it was you scored again. Glad it wasn't against Cardiff. But how was it? Well, how was the game? How was the performance from yourself, from the team?
I think it was extra special for us with the fans being there. I was really surprised, to be honest, how loud they were. There was 2,000 there, but it felt pretty full. And we made a point of going over to them before the game, and it was the first time the manager had met the fans as well, which was quite important to him and to the club, really, because it was a big change in the summer that nobody really expected. And we've gone on and done really well. So it was nice to get in front of the fans and build a little bit of momentum. We've got another game on Wednesday with the fans in as well. So I think we're quite fortunate to be in that tier 2 category with fans. And we went out and played really well, sending off within 15 minutes. And it was going to be hard work for Notts Forest after that, with some of the talent we've got up the pitch, at the top of the pitch. Young Michael Elise, probably the headline of that, and Luca Xiao as well. So it was always going to be a difficult day, and it was nice for me to score so early in the second half, and that sort of took the fight out of Forest, and 2-0 was at a canter, really.
The thing is, sorry, Si, how important then is it to have the fans back in? You know what I mean? Because being a footballer, you know, I thrived on the fans being there. I give an example that it was like playing in a reserve game. You know what I mean? That when no fans were there, no atmosphere. You know what I mean? How difficult was it to play a game knowing there was something at the end of it? It was competitive. There was 3 points at stake, but with having no fans there, how difficult was it?
Yeah, a lot of people were citing the difficulty of that. And as a group, we tried to just be like, well, there are 3 points there. We need to go and get them. And we knew fans would be watching at home. So you tried not to make that as an excuse. But it does make a difference in them derby games when you're putting pressure on teams. And we played Millwall recently, and they were talking about how, you know, it had affected their home form, not having fans there. And sometimes it can be for the benefit of the team as well. You know, we're all right. We've got young players that haven't played too often. So, you know, there's a question of will the fans' pressure be awkward for them. Leeds last season, I think they benefit from not having fans, maybe, because it could be nervous around Ellen Road come the end of the season. Stoke, for instance, as well. That had been a difficult place for them to play at home. So there are places where it has benefited them. And it'll be interesting to see when fans do come back, how different teams react to that. Because it's not always positive. As much as fans go to be positive, and normally they are, we've all seen it when they find it difficult to get behind teams, whether that's the way the team's playing, results, it can be difficult.
Yeah, bang on. Well, we said something similar, didn't we, Sag? We had a big conversation about Greenwood, and just said that he was coming in at a perfect time. He's stepping in at United with no fans. There's no pressure on him. You know what I mean? When he's making a couple of mistakes. He's made a couple of mistakes off the pitch, on the pitch, and if there was fans in there and crowd in there, you know, as a young player, you know what I mean, you can hear things, you can hear the groans, you miss a chance, you have a bad game, the pressure's on you before the game, and it's such a different animal when there's fans there. But you know, I mean, like you say, it must have been extra special at the weekend to have them there to acknowledge during a warm up. I bet you were all buzzing. During the game, there'll be the 12th man, and then after the game, you were there to celebrate with them, and then obviously extra special. You know, we haven't touched on your goal yet, but to score a goal and then be able to celebrate with the supporters at the same time, because it's nice to score at any time. Don't get me wrong, but to have fans behind the goal or in the stadium must have been extra special.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, certainly, you know, Luca Xiao scored the first one as well, and he got a chance to get over to the fans. I got sort of clubbed together before I could get over there, and it was a great feeling. It was, I think that the day in itself, it's one of them days where fans will remember where they were if they got tickets. A real momentous day, so it was nice to score there and be in everybody's memory.
Michael Donner asked the question. She said, "How are Reading allocating seats for the fans? Is it on a rota basis?"
I think they're doing it quite similar to quite a lot of the clubs. It's how long you've been season ticket, had a season ticket, and then also to do with your away games as well. I think it's how far you've travelled over the last few years for the away games as well. So I'm not entirely sure, but I know there's like a point system that they've been looking to do, but I'm not entirely sure because 2,000 at Reading's hard enough, but you're talking about 2,000 at Spurs, Arsenal at the weekend. It's impossible to get everybody there and to do it fairly, really.
Yeah, and for me, Si, I just look at the picture for the players. You've got to see it from the players' point of view. Yes, the fans are disappointed, they're frustrated because everybody wants to go and everybody wanted to be there for the first game, and because, like Michael just said there, that everyone knows where they were there for that first game back. It's a special game, but then every game after that becomes special as well. But not everyone's going to get the opportunity, unfortunately. You know what I mean? And in the long run, it's just about helping the players get enough momentum, especially with Christmas coming up and loads of games. The games are coming through thick and fast, and hopefully a lot of the areas can get past this tier 3 and get back into the tier 2. We can have some more supporters, and hopefully the percentages increase so we can get even more bums on seats, as long as it's safe and healthy for everybody. Because just the games that I watched over the weekend with fans in, it just felt different. You know what I mean? I've hated the crowd noise. I've hated the mute button. I like to see people jumping up and down and just being a bit crazy and enjoying goals, and you know what I mean. And the majority of games, when the games that I watched at the weekend, there were home goals. Watched the Reading game, seeing the Tottenham game. You know what I mean. But it would be interesting to see a team dominate a game away from home on TV when there's no fans, because it becomes then a little bit against the grain, because obviously we've got no fans there still. So it'd be interesting to watch as well.
Craig's put a good question in here now. He says, do you think it's fair with some of the derbies for one game to be with one team to be without fans and the other with fans? Cardiff have played Bristol and will play Swansea without fans, but the return fixtures against both could end up having fans there. Does that give an unfair advantage, or do we just have to accept that it is what it is? Michael, go first with that one, right?
I think it is what it is. Yeah, it is probably an advantage, and we did talk about how it could be a disadvantage. But I think if you can get 2,000 fans in, or you can get 5,000 fans in, we need to let them in and get people into the football grounds. That's what everybody wants, and whether it's just home fans, for certain games or whatever, I think people have got to get into grounds and start watching live football, because it's a completely different experience as watching it from sitting on the TV to watching it at the stadium. And I think if you can get 5,000 in, get 2,000 in, let them come in. I think even as an opposition player, you'd rather be playing in front of the opposition fans, silencing them and getting that grief, but then showing them by scoring a goal or whatever. That's a good feeling as well. So I think I'd definitely vouch for getting fans in.
And did you think?
I see it from both sides from me side that point, because I like it. I used to love going to side with big home following to try and shut them up and try and score at the end where the home fans were, and just to wind them up a little bit and just play the game and just play the occasion. And I just really enjoyed that. Yes, it's nice to have your away fans behind you or the home fans behind you, and make sure that you try and do things for your home fans as well. But sometimes it's a nice feeling. You look at Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy scored in his last 4 away games. He's gone to the corner in all 4, and there's been no fans there. And you know what I mean. And he got asked the question about, will you still do it when fans are there? It's just a way that people do it. And you know what I mean. For me, fans are only going to make this just special. It's going to be a special occasion, because the more it's making football better already. You know what I mean. Everyone's looking forward to it. There's a buzz about the place again, and buzz about football.
Here's a question for you then. Obviously, the reason why it's only home fans is to stop people travelling, because obviously you've got the different tiers, blah, blah, blah. Surely the derby games should be the kind of first games where you would perhaps integrate a small amount of away fans, because they've got the least amount of distance to travel.
Traveling.
So that makes sense to me. Does that make sense to both of you guys? I mean, Michael, would that make sense to you? That the derby games would be the first ones to have away.
I think football clubs aren't too worried about people on site. It's travelling. I think they call it Zone X. It's the pubs close to the stadiums, all the extra travel, public transport, parking up as well. And with them being in clubs, I think football clubs are able to hold more than what they're holding, hold more than the 2,000. It's more the problems away from the clubs that creates with people going to the pubs or coffee shops and mingling around the stadium. That's the issue. So it does make sense to the closer teams, their fans, the away fans, to go closer, because there's less travel. But I do think it kind of makes sense to be home fans at the moment. I think that'll be the way it goes until the end of the season.
Si, how would you feel then as a Cardiff fan not being able to go to the derby at the weekend if, let's say, they were only allowed 2,000 fans in, that Swansea allowed 1,000, Cardiff allowed 1,000, and you as a Cardiff fan weren't allowed to attend your home game because Swansea City fans got it? I'm not a big fan of that.
That's a difficult one because I think from an atmosphere point of view,
Do you can't have any more fans.
Away fans make such a difference where the fans can go back to back. However, there's no way those 1,000 fans from each club in a Cardiff Swansea, for instance, they're not going to be next to each other, which means they're not going to be able to banter back and forth. So you're not going to get that extra bit of atmosphere that away fans create. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
so
agree. I don't think it's a point.
It would be pointless, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like if they were going to be next to each other, which they wouldn't do, but if they were going to be next to each other so they can sing back and forth and they can have a bit of banter, that which then creates that atmosphere, then yes, I think that would be good. But like I said, they're not going to put they don't put Cardiff and Swansea fans together at the best of times, let alone when there's only 1,000 each of them in a big ground. So Andy's just popped off for a second. So, Michael, I got a question for you, which I was thinking about yesterday. Outside of the Reading squad, so your teammates, I would like you to tell me who you think is the best goalkeeper, the best defender, the best midfielder, and the best striker, and why, if you don't mind.
That I've played with, or just in general?
Just at the moment.
In the Premier League, yeah? Or in the
Championship.
Yeah? Championship. I would probably say goalkeeper David Bentley at Bristol City. Really like him. Really think he's a really good goalkeeper. Done really well the last few games, especially when I've seen him on TV. Centre half, I like Pinnock I think he moved from Barnsley to Brentford. I thought he did well last year. Big size. I think he's made a difference to them as well. I know a lot of people talk about Janssen, but I think he's given them a more physical, powerful stature at the back, which they were lacking in previous years. Midfield. Midfield and striker are the two. I mean, at the striker, I'm probably going to talk about Brentford Tony again. To step up so quickly, like he has done into the championship's been incredible. Really, I think when you spend your money like Brentford do, you expect them to recruit well, but for him to hit the ground running like that is some going. And whether he can
is that a surprise then, Michael? Is that a surprise how well he's done? You know what I mean? So obviously, players talk in changing rooms and things, and obviously we do the championship show, and I just can't believe how well he's done. I knew he was a good footballer. I knew he scored goals at all levels he's played at, but he's done far better than I ever imagined he could have.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Jack Marriott the other year, I think that was 6 million Derby had paid for him as well, and he's probably, they were looking for the same return, and that's not quite been the way. So I think it's a good team to be playing in. Let's be honest, he's going to have chances playing for a Brentford side. But I think it is surprising to be able to go and do that. Any striker that's scoring that many goals in the championship from stepping up, it is a surprise. And I think he probably pushes Armstrong all the way for that top goal scorer accolade at the end of the season. And it'd be interesting to see if he can keep going and how Brentford results go if they do get an injury to Ivan Toney. I totally agree, because I look at Brentford last year, and I look at obviously the power and the pace and everything they had with Ben Rama, Ollie Watkins, and this year they've gone a different way. They've had to change the style of player by the way that they've brought players in. They've gone a little bit. For me, I think they've recruited really well defensively. I think they've recruited really well, and the manager's done great. And I was so disappointed for them last year. I'll start there with not getting the Premier League, because I just thought they was just so suited with a new ground coming into play as well. It was all set up, but they've obviously got to do it the hard way now and battle it along with the rest of us. Yeah, I think they had a good opportunity when it sort of become real. I think they needed 1 point out of 2 or 3 games at the end. They've got a great run, about 7 or 8 wins in the row, and then it sort of become real that they could do it. And then it's difficult to get that last win to finish and get over that line, and Notts Forest found it the same, and they're struggling now. So I think credit to Brentford. They're recruited really well, like you'd expect them to do. Like they've got a good reputation to do, and they're back in the hunt again, and I expect them to be there or thereabouts come the end of the season.
Well, let's obviously talk about let's talk about like your current Reading team. So what's the key for success this season? Because you started off like an absolute house on fire. You know what I mean? You've continued it. You finished you finished the month really strong. You've turned the form around after a couple of consecutive defeats. So what's the key been for the season so far? Is it started in pre-season? What is it?
Certainly not pre-season, because we had probably one of the worst, I would say, to prepare for it. We had Mark who left a week before the season started, so Pauno didn't have much time to come in and implement his style. But I think we've always had good players. Whenever I've spoken to anybody that looks at this Reading team from last year, it goes how talented the players are, and the manager's come in and connected everybody, because we haven't signed that many new players, and he's come in and, as well as giving us a good structure to play off, he's got everybody buying into it, everybody connecting, everybody's aims aligned to achieving success, which sounds easier than what it is, and everybody's really pushing for the team. And I think last season there's probably a few too many people that are playing for themselves, and not on purpose, but when you can really get a group buy-in and a group ethos like the manager's created through his positivity, and a few different things he implemented around the training ground, it really makes a difference. And you can see people wanting to be with each other, and you can see them working harder for each other. And with the skill set that they've got, that work rate and that team spirit, when you're matching up other teams with the same quality, or probably not as much quality, that's going to take you a long way. And I'd probably say that's the main one, that connection. And then some of the sign, Josh Lawrence come in, and the structure that we play with them two, letting the four in front of them go and do their thing, has really, really helped.
You said there about people last year playing for themselves, and this year they're playing for the team. Is that evident as well? Because obviously we've had obviously an ex-teammate of yours last season, Charlie Adam, was on the show, and Charlie said the same thing. So didn't he? Charlie said that he was quite astounded, at being an experienced player, that there wasn't a togetherness as much as, he wanted and he expected, and he was driven because of that. And that's what he's had at his old clubs, He used Blackpool as an example, but how important is it for the team to be all pushing in the same direction?
Yeah, I don't think you're a team unless you're looking to get the same objectives. And that's what happens. You can see when that's why we were inconsistent. Sometimes we were really good last year, other times we weren't, because it wasn't that cohesive team, and that does take you a long way, especially when the games come thick and fast, and you want to work. I think you naturally work a little bit harder for friends, for people that you respect and that you want to do well, and then when that starts cultivating, it's hard, and that momentum goes, and it's hard to stop it. And I'm hoping that's what we've got, and the atmosphere around the place and that connection with everybody seems tenfold from last season. And, that's not just Pauno's work, it's the players working together and realising that, and then winning games, and that grows again, and that momentum snowballs again, which is a big word in the Championship when it's so thick and fast with the games. But I think talent as well is all well and good, and I've been in teams that have got team spirit, and it does make a difference. But when you've got talent, and we missed Luka João quite a lot last season with injuries, and luckily at the moment he's been injury-free, and you've got a goal scorer, that also helps.
Yeah, true. Right, it certainly does. It's and thing is that when you can see everything from the back, and you see everything unfold, and you see how dangerous these kind of players and how good they are, and the chances they create, and it just takes the pressure off you guys. I'm guessing, the game takes the pressure off you. You're not as busy. You're not having to make mistakes. You're not having to be involved as much, and you can enjoy your football a little bit more and just concentrate on those clean sheets.
Yeah, I think when you come to Reading now, people aren't thinking, we can walk all over them, or it's going to be an easy game. Already there's teams that have come up and banked up against us and caught us on the counter-attack and have been successful. But I don't think it's an easy game for anybody. And, we're really pleased with that, making the Medeski a difficult place to go, and it'll be even better with fans. But yeah, I think that connection makes a big difference, and certainly for defenders, when you've got goals in your team, it makes your job so much easier, and it almost worthwhile. If you keep a clean sheet, you're going to win a game, because I don't think there'll be too many where teams will be able to stop us from scoring.
I think we've said, Si, haven't we? Sorry, Si, I will let you have a question. We've said about the Championship. It's not I don't think there's been many 0-0 draws. There's early goals, the late goals. The amount of late goals in the Championship this season over the last couple of weeks has just been unbelievable. The 93rd minute must be must be probably the most over-hit goal time in the league so far.
Yeah, Norwich seem to have got the hang of that, don't they? They've scored
You
quite a
said
few
that,
late goals. They did that at the weekend as well. Rode a bit of luck. Rode a bit of luck with the penalty decisions there with Sheffield Wednesday, and then gone on and won the game. And they've done that a few times. And I think that's accumulation of games, concentration. Again, that question mark if there's fans there, do then goals go in? Are people more concentrated, or is there that extra little bit of effort that might be there that subconsciously? So that'll be interesting as well when fans come back. But I think it's exciting. I think when you look down from that top to 7th, 8th, everybody thinks they've got an opportunity. And then even the teams below that are looking at seeing if we can push on it and win games as well. So I think it'll be really tight to the end. And if you can put a win of 3 or 4 in a row, that'll make a real big difference. Because even now, back to back doesn't get you away from everybody. And it's, points getting dropped. Look at Watford. They lost, didn't they, to Cardiff at the weekend. And Cardiff have pulled out 2 or 3 good results and back up chasing the playoffs again. So, there'll be ups and downs, especially with injuries and the COVID regulations as well. So smaller squads, and it'll be really interesting over Christmas. And I don't think it'll be until after Christmas that it will actually take a bit more shape.
Yeah, I agree. I've always said Neil Harris is doing a fantastic job, and he was the man for the Cardiff job. I said that all along from the start. My question, I had a couple of questions actually, Michael. The first one was, what's it like to work with the likes of John O'Shea, Quinton Fortune, Eddie Nivetski, I can't say his surname, I apologise, on a daily basis? Because they're not just like experienced players. They've won in O'Shea and Quinton Fortune's case, have won the biggest trophies in the world at a club level. That's got to be quite the experience on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, John's the most capped Republic of Ireland player ever, I think, and he's working with their under 23s or under 21s now as well, and him being a centre half and me being a centre half, you're always trying to learn off of him, and he's a good guy around the place and puts in his input and really helps the defenders, and we've got a couple of really good young defenders that he's really helping as well, and sometimes you catch them football years and you see Shazy on it lifting the trophy, and we watched Liverpool lift the trophy, the Premier League last season, and John was with us, and we were all like, "What's that feeling, John?" And he's like, "I can't even describe it. It's unbelievable." And to have that experience along with Quinton as well, we're really, really fortunate to have that side, and they do get to put their input in. It's a very good atmosphere that Amanda's created, but quite a good learning environment, and we've got so many good young players. It's brilliant for them to have that knowledge passed down to them.
Michael, that leads me in nicely actually to the second part of my question, which was, I was wondering if you could tell me some of the kind of top young talent coming through Reading that we should keep a lookout for now over the next couple of years, because I've heard their academy is very, very good. I could make an argument for 5 or 6 of the lads that are in the first team at the moment. I'm sure not a lot of Reading fans will thank me for it, but when you look at Michael Elise, he's the headline at the moment, and having seen a bit of Jude Bellingham and probably comparing them to price wise, I think that's the sort of price that you're going to have to look at for Michael Elise come the summer. If you want to prize him away from Reading, it'll be as much as what was paid for Jude. And then I really like Omar Richards. He's had a really good breakthrough year, the left back. Played for England under 21s last season, and he had competition for his places, and the club have really trusted him. They let Jordan Abita go. They didn't sign him on a new contract, and Tyler Blackett. So that really give him confidence that they were going to trust him, and he's really paid that at the moment. He's done really well this year. So they're probably my 2 standout ones that I would call on. And then somebody that's probably been more surprising, not as glamorous, would be Tom Holmes, who last season was on loan in Belgium's 2nd division. Come back under the new manager, done superbly well, filled in at right back and staking a claim for that position at the moment.
How easy is it for you then, Michael, to play alongside these younger players? You know what I mean? Obviously, do you take more responsibility? Obviously, being an experienced player, you know what I mean? Not in the Charlie Adams category, being as old as Charlie, but I mean, being an experienced player, do you help them along? Does it make your job easy because they can do all your running around? Explain how being an experienced player is helping you.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant when you see some of the young talent you've got and they're fearless. It gives you that spark to do your thing as well and make sure you stay solid for them and do the hard work for them. And we've got two young lads in front of us as well. Josh Laurent, who's been playing in League One for Shrewsbury. And I think a lot of people will be thinking, well, how did we get him? Why was he playing at Shrewsbury? Because he's been exceptional this year. And then Andy Rinamotor as well. Then that engine at the two of them, it does an awful lot of work in front of us. And that's made a big difference for me. And then every day it's just trying to set standards myself for them to achieve as high as they can, because that's what you want to do when you see and you work with young players and really talented players. You don't want them to fail because of not putting enough effort or they've not done the right things every day. You want them to get their absolute maximum. So leading by example, trying to get the best out of yourself, to show an example to them that, listen, you've got twice as much talent as me. You can go on and do loads more than what I've done in my career. Just make sure that you do all the basics, all that hard work side of it, because your talent can take you even further. So it's exciting. I see it as really exciting to work with some of these young players. I want to stay in football and on the coaching side. So it's really nice to give them little bits of input. And as a player, you have a different relationship than what you do with their coaches. So they see it from a different side, especially the young defenders. You tell them something, they might listen to me and not so much the coaches. And that's not on purpose. That's just sometimes it's nice to get information from your peers and easier to take that on board. So I always try and help them as well, and as much as they help me.
How do you think football's evolved then since you were a young player? So obviously coming through the Cambridge, how different was it back then than it is now?
I think the thing now is there needs to be a purpose behind why you're doing stuff. And I think in leadership that's completely changed now. It's not right, you've got to do this. This is what we're doing. Kids ask questions. They want to know why they're doing it. It's not enough to say we're going to do this. You have to give a reason of why that's the best way to do it, or why you're doing it that way. And once you do that and you explain that, then you get the buy-in and the lads work just as hard for you. But you can't just give that dictator, you have to do this. It's trying to make them understand that by doing this will make us better and we can do X, Y, and Z from doing that. And that purpose, that why is the important question that I think a lot of young players are asking now that wasn't getting asked 10 years ago, because it was, if you asked a question, you get shot down or you'd be out running, and it just wasn't that sort of environment. And nowadays, I think, managers taking that on board. Certainly Pauno is really approachable and puts emphasis on the purpose of why we're playing this way, why we're doing this thing, and people are trying to buy into it.
Well, all the football's evolved, hasn't it, Si? We spoke about it, lifestyle on and off the pitch. Football's evolved, formations, coaching, training methods, pre-season. You can go on with various things what have changed and changed for the better, I think. Very dramatic, but changed for the better. It's only good for football. It's only good for players. You only get one opportunity at this. Young players want to know what's going on, and rightly so. But experienced players also, they want to fulfill their pure potential. If that's Michael playing for another 8 to 10 years, then fantastic. Because that's what it is. If people can fulfill and have longevity in their football careers, then it's good for everybody. It's good for the individual. It's good for the club, and that's key for me. You got young kids coming through, 16, 17, 18, getting released by Premier League clubs and dropping like a stone and never being involved in football again. And it's such a shame, because it's, there's some good footballers who was probably just falling through the net and, and losing confidence and losing that love of football because they've been having one kick or one negative comment or, getting released by a club. And it's such a shame. And we're a big advocate, aren't we, for there's more organisations, the PFA, for example, who can do a little bit more to help these people get back involved in football or stay in football. And I just hope that something can be done, because other things are happening. The suicide rate of young footballers is off the scale as well. It's such a shame.
I think it's really difficult it's really difficult with the 23s football now. You've got lads that aren't playing first team games that are there until they're 21, 22, and their peers have then ended up going to university and starting their lives. So coming out football is even harder. If you come out at 18, there still feels like you can still catch up with your friends, where when you come out at 21, 22 and you've been a professional footballer for, or you feel like you have, it then becomes difficult coming away from that.
Yeah. We said this side, didn't we? Because we said, obviously when I played, I'm going back, 96, we had a youth team, we had another side. So it was probably equivalent to 23s, because we had the olden days, black and white TV as well. So we had we had a men's league, but we were 16-year-old playing in the men's league. It was so difficult physically, mentally, but it got you ready for when you did play against reserve team football or first team football, and it was just exhilarating. It was just the best thing ever. You know, I couldn't imagine playing under 23 football and not making your debut and getting to 21 and still being there, or 22, and you know what I mean. And then clubs thinking, well, they're not good enough, and you know what I mean. For me, there's a level for everybody. You know what I mean. If that's part-time football, semi-professional football, who people can make a good living from and have an education or have some kind of job at the end of it. You know what I mean. There's certainly some avenues in football for those kind of guys, 100%.
Right, I'm going to go to some questions from the live chat because they're stacking up a bit. Yeah, stacking up. So we're going all the way back to Donna Perry asked, Michael, what is Lee Tomlin like to play against? Is he as good as a lot of Cardiff fans think, her included?
I really like Lee. I've played against him quite a few times, and he's always someone you need to keep an eye on when he comes on the pitch. He loves that little chop pass. Cuts that back really nice. Looks like it's going to shot a play. You try and show him on his left because he's very right-footed. But he seems to have a way of getting out on the outside of his foot and shooting, and he's a real threat. Every time I've played against him, when he's on the pitch, you're like, don't give him half a yard. Great something.
Listen, he's got everything that you need, Si, in this at the championship. You know what I mean? Playing that number 10 level. You know what I mean? He wants the ball. He's always half turn. He can score goals. He can create chances. He's always a threat. You know what I mean? We're obviously a big advocate. We love him to bits, and we just want him fit. We want him on the pitch, because how can Cardiff City excel? How can Lee Tomlin excel and go to that next level if he's not on the football pitch because he's injured or he's sat on his backside?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I've said this before, if a fit Lee Tomlin is one of the best number 10s the Championship has ever seen, but his problem in recent times has been keeping fit. Kate Childs asked, Michael, which footballer did you look up to?
Ian Wright. That's why I support Arsenal. I loved Ian Wright, and he scored some fabulous goals, and I always wanted to be Ian Wright. Ended up as a centre half. But yeah, Ian Wright.
Listen, the goals Ian Wright used to score, you know, it's how infectious he was, how much he loved the game, how much he loved to score goals. He just lived for it, and he still does now. You know, the Ian Wright would be nothing without football in his life, without talking about it, without commentating on it, without doing his podcast, without doing on certain newspapers. He's an absolute just joy to have around. Everything's positive, you know. Even when he's trying to put a negative swing on it on Match of the Day or on certain platforms, he's absolutely just a joy to watch. Absolute joy.
Oh, yes. Gaz asked for mine and yours, Andy's top 5, like best goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, striker, etc. for the Championship. So rather than doing that quickly, you can pick one position and I'll pick one position and pick one player just to speed us up a bit.
I think no one will be surprised when I pick the player who I adore.
Bradley Dack.
Bradley Dack. I think Bradley is a top midfield player, and if he didn't get his injury on his knee when he did for Blackburn Rovers, he'd be in the Premier League 100%. I believe. I think he's an excellent midfield player, and coming through where he came through at Gillingham, you know what I mean, lower levels in League One. You know, I think he's done a great job to get where he is. I hope when he does come back, that he can hit the ground running again straight away and just start to show how good he is again. So
I'm going to kind of base it on, if I could sign one player from any Championship club, I would sign Lewis Holtby from Blackburn.
From Spurs?
From Spurs, yeah.
Spurs on the brain.
I'd also say if Ryan Shawcross and James Chester were fit, I think they're Premier League players as well.
Ryan Shawcross came back at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was his first game back. He came on and stuff against Middlesbrough. I thought he did. I thought he did really well. I thought he did really well. Came on.
Yeah, keeping him fit is probably the biggest thing for him at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be now, especially if they're rushing back. If he needs to come back. I know he came on for Danny Bath, and he played alongside James Chester. And to be fair, Middlesbrough weren't causing problems, but you know what I mean, they were both on their A game towards the end of the game for sure.
I got to say, mate, we've talked about Stoke and how they seem to starting to put it together a little bit. If they can get Shawcross and James Chester playing as their partnership, Danny Bath is very good, by the way, as well. But if they can get those two playing as a partnership at the back from like now to the rest of the season, I think that makes them a very, very difficult proposition.
Well, Michael mentioned it. Michael mentioned it earlier for me. I think what Stoke will benefit from the most will be by staying in Tier 3 as long as they possibly can, because the Britannia, full of negative fans, can have a real negative impact on the players, like it did last year. They had a huge impact on their performances last year, not for the better. So if they can stay in Tier 3 up towards February, March, they'll have a chance.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not sure when Joe Allen must be back as well. He must be.
Yeah, I think he's. I just saw something about him. He's in the Wales squad, so or he's due to be in the Wales squad, something like that. So he can't be far off.
Top player.
Oh yeah.
It's just Michael. Like you, obviously, you're playing in the Championship. It must be an absolute joy every single time when you see team sheets, when you see your own team training. You must just look around and think it's a Premier League too. You know what I mean? It's that strong now. You know what I mean? You've got players, for me, who 5 years ago would and should be playing in the Premier League, but now they're playing the Championship.
I think when you look at the England team now, a lot of them have played in the Championship. Maguire, Trippier, and that seems like a genuine route now. And when you look at League One and you look at the EFL now, I see it. You look at League One, League Two, and then you have the Championship. The Championship is so far ahead of League One and League Two now. It's really its own product, and I think that's what they're having trouble with. The EFL actually managing that product now. I think it's so vast. It's so close to the Premier League, and obviously the Premier League don't want to give up any of their autonomy. It's so difficult for the Championship like that.
But we've said, obviously, we do the Championship show on a Friday, and we've said the same thing, haven't we? You know, I mean, it would benefit from being separate to the Premier League and its own separate league, and then the EFL, especially with the wage cap as well in League One and League Two. I think it's probably got to be separate as well, because if it was all running off the same entity, it wouldn't make sense. And you know, I won't get in the nitty gritties of what you think about the EFL, but I think the EFL has run the whole thing shambolically, terribly anyway. So that's my own opinion, by the way, not Michael's. That's Andy Campbell's opinion.
That's
and
Andy Campbell's opinion. And we won't go into my opinion of the EFL. It's a family show.
It's not 9 o'clock. It's not 9 o'clock, is it?
Joe Allen is back in full training and is likely to be in the squad for the next game, supposedly. So there you go. Gaz Cubbins asks, Michael, who's the hardest opponent you have faced this season?
Armstrong at Blackburn. He scored 2.
On fire.
Very good movement. Gets across the front. Really, really well. Obviously, his goal tally. Played against him last season. I was really impressed with him last season. I think we lost 4-3 in the end. And he's really, really quick, really bright movement. And Blackburn need to keep hold of him because he is a Premier League player in my eyes.
Yeah. So what makes him then so dangerous then, Michael? Because does he have to play up front on his own? Does he have to play with a bigger target man and running behind? How does it work with him? Because I know him from years ago.
I think he got
obviously very slight.
Yeah, I think he bulked up from when he was at Newcastle. He's obviously got a bit bigger as he's got older, and he plays on the shoulder really well in between the strike, in between the centre half and the fullback, and can take shots with both feet as well, right and left foot. And that's what makes him a threat. You can't just show him one way. But I really like his movement. He's never up against you. He's always looking to slip it down the side of you, and that's what makes somebody difficult. If you've got a centre forward and he kind of marks you almost, it makes your job easy. Where he's always looking to be on the move, on the half turn, and in the box, he makes that darting run where he comes right across you, and it's hard. It's really hard to mark that one when they step to go behind you and then shoot across in front of you, and really emphasise on that. And I found him. You know, the hardest striker so far. Kate
Child also, he basically asked, it's a similar question. He says, who's the toughest striker you've played against this year? Who's the, we'll change it slightly. Who's the most physically imposing or strongest physically striker you've played against this year?
Well, I think the easiest one's Kiefer Moore. You know, you look at him, he's 6'4", 6'5". Yeah, ready to put himself about as well. You know, knows how big he is and uses his body quite well. And he's got a good touch. So it's one of them where he can link up play. So if you get too tight to him, he'll link up with the person near him, whether that's that 10 or the winger coming off of him. I quite like his touch and how he links the play up. So sometimes you think, right, if it's a big man, I'm going to get up against him and his touch is going to let him down. But, you know, I don't think that happens too often with Keith. I'm sure you guys watch him more than I do. But I think he's done really well as well. He stepped up from that being at Ipswich and Barnsley and really taken shape into the Championship now and is having a fledgling career. I think he scored 5 in 5 now. Is it something like that?
Yeah, he's done well. Yeah. Is that then? What would Michael Morrison prefer? Then would he prefer the battle for 90 minutes against a big target man and someone physical, or would he rather the little nippy player who can run everywhere?
Well, you don't often get that too much now. That physical presence as a striker, it's not a lot what people are looking for, or it's a bit of a throwback with a lot of teams playing one up front. They look for that mobile striker who can do a little bit of both. So it isn't too often you come up with that, and I think you find that the younger centre halves, I haven't experienced that coming through 23s football and the way that football's evolved in the last 10 years. I'd probably say I'd prefer it and to be playing a bigger target man than the nippier strikers. As you get older, it definitely becomes more of a challenge for them guys. But pace is the first 2 yards is in your head, so that's what I tell all the young lads anyway.
Hang on, it's the only thing I had, mate. So I lived on that for a lifetime, size. So it's like Paul Pogba.
Yeah, mate.
That's what you're doing.
Had to dine out on him, mate. Stuart Campbell, Andy's father,
legend, isn't he?
He addressed you properly because we've criticised his grammar recently. I say it's the royal we. Andy criticised his grammar. I think Stuart's an absolute legend, and
rightly so. Rightly so, by the way. Rightly so. Rightly so.
He says, Michael Dash, what would you be doing if you were not a footballer? ?
Oh, I don't. It's a tough question. That is. I actually. I own,
Michael, he's vicious. He's vicious. He's vicious as my dad. Vicious.
Yeah, I own 3 barbershops, so I probably cutting hair, I suppose. My best mate's a barber, and me and him own barbershop. So maybe a barber. Maybe that would be.
I'm not going to ask what you could do with it. Them days are well gone. Well gone.
Yeah, mine's going tomorrow. I'm going back to the number 1 all over tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So
Michael, do it for you.
Got yourself in.
There we go. I toying with the idea of growing it out again and donating it again, but
part of me now thinks that my dad knew exactly what Michael was going to say there, so he'd throw it back at me. Yeah, basically, yeah.
To have a little dig at you.
He's played me in. I should have plugged it. Well, shouldn't I? Yeah, a little plug.
He's done it, mate. I just see that's him all over. I know for a fact.
So he was having a little dig at you, but also he was giving Michael a little promotion for his barbershop as well.
So right. Where are the Michael? So everybody knows. If you want to tell everybody, by the way,
they're over in Cambridgeshire. It's called Mr. Barbers. There's 30 now across the country. As part of a franchise. Actually, Darren Ambrose owns 2 in Ipswich as well.
Oh, quality.
And we've never actually met. Both part of the same franchise. Both footballers never met.
That's mad, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Good. No, I like that. I like that.
Stephen Hughes said, "What happened to John Swift at Reading? He was quality from what I saw of him." And do you know the answer to that question?
No.
John Swift.
Yeah, John was a guy. Sheffield were very keen on John. There was a couple of bids in for him, I think, and he did his hamstring in the 3rd game, so he pulled his hamstring right off. They were talking about operating on it, so he's just recovering from that, really, and he's an exceptional player. Somebody who will be back in January for us, hopefully, and it'll be like a new signing for us. I know it's a bit of a cliche comment, but it really will be. It'll be somebody that will really make a difference in the running for us. I think most teams in the Championship, if they can have a fit John Swift in their team, they'll definitely find space for him.
Especially with the amount of games over Christmas, and especially the amount of games in the Championship in general, but especially when Christmas comes and a new player can take the pressure off somebody or go on the bench and push each other along in training during games and just be that extra body. You know what I mean? I know how important it is, and that's why players and managers bring in new players on loan or transfers, because just to give the group a lift. And Michael's just said it there. You know, I mean, a player within the group and within the squad, injured or out of form or not in the team, can always make a difference, and that's key. And it could push Reading to the next level.
I just saw that little bit there. No Swift recovery.
Terrible joke.
Andy, he's been on fire today in the comments. I got to say. And because I scrolled down to that, I've lost the question I was going to ask. Oh, there it is. Gavin Randall asks, what's the best stadium you've played in, Michael?
I'd probably, I'm biased, but I love playing at St Andrews. We played Aston Villa, and we actually lost 1-0, but it was probably the best atmosphere I played in. So that was probably the one game when I think of something, St Andrews is a brilliant place with fans. They really connect with the team when it's going well, and stick by the lads when it's not going so well. And then St James's Park is always a brilliant one to play at. Played it there a few times when Newcastle have been in the Championship. So they're the two I would pick out. I'm quite looking forward to doing Brentford this season as well. I've seen we've driven past that a few times. I'm quite on away games, so I'm quite looking forward to playing there, ticking that one off.
It looks quite nice. I'd like to see that. I'd love to see them in the Premier League just for that alone. But I think when they can get supporters back in and I mean more supporters back in and get a proper atmosphere generated, because Griffin Park was a strange place to play football. You know what I mean? It was it was a proper old school place, but the atmosphere was always good. It was always full because of how small it was and how tight it was to, you know, the away fans are hot. It was a very nice place to play football, never hostile. I always found it to be like a Luton Town, for example, was a nice place to play.
Two phenomenal questions coming up now for very different reasons, very different questions, but I really like both. So first of all, Donna says, do you look at the Championship table after every game, and do you listen to the halftime scores?
I don't listen to the half-time scores. No, we don't often get privy to that. But to be fair, as soon as the manager's done his talk, the screen goes on, the TV goes on, everybody checks the results. We see where we are. I mean, at the moment, it's, you know, as long as you win, you like looking at the table. When you lose, it's a bit harder. But when you win, every result's gone your way. You know, and you look at the weekend we won, and you looked at it, go, well, that was all right for us. That was all right for us. If you lose, you look at the ones where, you know, like Norwich winning. If you've lost, you look bad at it. But when you've won, you're looking at Watford dropping points and Brentford drawing 2-2 when Blackburn had a man sent off, and you look positive on it. So yeah, I think you do. You can't help yourself. We're all people. We want to be towards the top of the league, don't you? So I think you always have a cheeky eye on it. Whoever says they don't is lying, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a competitive aspect, isn't it? You know, that you always want to improve.
It's human nature,
you know what I mean? Yeah, because listen, you know what I mean. You want to excel. You want to get the Premier League. You know what I mean? I'm guessing the long-term aspiration, Michael's got to be you want to play in the Premier League before, you know what I mean, in your career. You know what I mean, have a full season and have a good go at it. You know, and I hope that can be next season, because it's a holy grail to play there, and you know what I mean, especially next season, because next season will be a monumental season with the fans back in the stadiums as well, I'm guessing. So it'll be an unbelievable time to get back in there. You know what I mean? Michael spoke earlier on about Leeds United, and they're doing excellent this season, but without the fans in there, yes, they'll be excited, but excitement brings pressure as well, you know. And I think sometimes when Reading had been back in the Premier League years ago, it was excitement because there wasn't no expectation when Reading got there last time. So for me, it'd be the same thing again. A bit of excitement, like when Cardiff got promoted and Middlesbrough being promoted. There's no real pressure because they're not big clubs, and I know I don't mean that being disrespectful, but Leeds United, there's a high expectation. There's 45,000 fans week in, week out in the Championship, so it brings its own pressure week in, week out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the second question, which I think is really interesting, I'd be fascinated to hear your answer. Put my teeth in. Answer, Michael. With the health concerns over heading, are you concerned about your future health and also the loss of the skill of heading in the future if you reduce training on it? That's from Craig Sullivan.
Well, I definitely think they should do it with kids. I think that goes without saying. I think in America it's at 12 or 14, they're not allowed to head it, or there's some regulations about it. And I do think that's good for English football, and I do think that should be put in. It's a little bit late for me now. I've been doing it for 15 years. It's something I love doing. I love playing. I wouldn't change it regardless what might happen in the future. But during the week, I don't know for you, Andy, but we never really did any. We don't do that much defending, heading work anyway. So it's not. I had more balls in a game than I would do during the week for sure.
Mate, I made a career of not heading it. I tried not to head it. To be fair, I used to really hurt. My technique was horrific. You know what I mean? You spot there though, Michael, about 12 to 14-year-olds. You know what I mean? Should be the same in England. I had an idea. I think it was last week, so I won it about using. Because I think the importance for me is the technique. You know what I mean? As long as people understand the correct technique to head the ball, we might not have as many issues. You know what I mean? When you head the ball on the top of your head, it hurts, and it's like a trauma. If you head it on the forehead, it doesn't hurt as much. You know what I mean? If you head it on the side of the head, it does hurt. So we could potentially use soft balls just to teach technique. Because one day you're going to go from not heading it to heading it. And that's my concern. That then you're going to overdo it. You know what I mean?
Balance,
you've said it there that in training you don't head it unless it's there at the head. You know what I mean? If it's at the head, you'll head it.
Yeah, it's not
crossing and finishing practice. You will head it in and have a bit of fun, and you'll go off celebrating. But you don't religiously just throw balls up and head it. I think it's a little bit of a myth.
It's not.
Yeah, a little bit of a myth.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm gonna rip through some of these questions because we've had some great questions tonight, and I don't want to miss anyone out. Gavin says, "Who's the best player you've missed alongside? Played alongside?"
Cool. Somebody that springs to mind is probably Andy King. That I played with in League One at Leicester, and he went on to win the Premier League with Leicester. So
top player.
Someone like him would be the first person that springs to mind with what he achieved. And he's certainly going to go down as a Leicester legend, that's for sure.
Top player.
Craig Sullivan with another cracking question. Do you read fan forums?
No. I see enough on Instagram and Twitter, let alone fan forums.
Do you vanity search your name on social media ever?
Me?
Yeah, sometimes you can't help yourself, can you?
Yeah.
I think but the thing is though, you also want to read what people are saying about you, if that's good and bad. You know what I mean? And for me, I enjoy the negatives more than I enjoy the positives, because when I read the negatives, and there's more negatives than there are positives sometimes, I think it's quite funny because people are out there to hate, and I like that. You know what I mean? I haven't got time to do that, but I enjoy reading it from other people, because if they've got time to do it, then keep doing it. Because if you're hating me, you're going to continue to do it.
Yeah, sometimes you give more value to them negative comments than it's worth. It's your peers and your family that you listen to. So I can look at them and laugh at them, like you say. But for young players coming through, that's not so true, and it can be very difficult for them. And I'm glad that I'm at an age where I'm a bit more comfortable in my own skin compared to some of the younger lads, and that can really affect them. And I think there has to be a lot of, on a serious note, a lot of stuff around that to help these young players, because it can.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I've said so, haven't I? I'm quite thankful that social media wasn't around when I played, and I wouldn't say that for the comments. I'd probably say that for the pictures and the true stories. What would have came out? It would have been horrific.
Stuart Campbell says, "Who's had the most influence on your career?"
Is that to me?
No, well, he knows you.
He's fishing. He's fishing again, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'd probably say Chris Power, if I'm honest. For my first 6 or 7 years of professional football, I played with him when I signed at Leicester City. Then he was a coach, and then he took me to Charlton, and we were really successful under there. And that was probably the making of me at Charlton. We won League One, and I was in the PFA Team of the Year that year. And after he left Charlton, I soon left too. So I'd probably say Chris Powell helped make my way in professional football, definitely.
Were you surprised how well he's done in his coaching career? Because obviously he's done the England under-21s as well. He's represented obviously country at coaching as well. So are you surprised that he's gone to another level?
No, he's certainly a well-respected coach, well-respected person within football. So I'm not surprised. I mean, he was a brilliant manager for me, really personable, and got the best out of me and our team. And his recruitment that year, we had Dale Stevens that's still playing in the Premier League now, and Ben Hamer, who played for Leicester in the Premier League, Jan Kermorgant, Premier League player. So Bradley Wright Phillips, gone on to better things in the MLS. So his recruitment there was top notch as well. And I think he's now doing stuff at Tottenham. He's the head of coaching at Tottenham, and he's got some great knowledge to give to there. So they're really lucky to have him. And I'm not surprised that he's working within that elite system.
Top shout.
Okay, last couple. Cade Child says, "Who's the angriest manager you've played under or come across, if you don't mind saying?"
This one, really easy. Steve Cottrell. Really always angry. Best example, we beat Sunderland. I think it was 3-1. It was a bit of a 6-pointer game, and he come in and he was very upset with the result, shall we say, and we were all looking around thinking, well, we've just won 3-1. It was a bit of a 6-pointer game. Just just enjoy the win, but he weren't happy. He was still angry with that. So I probably got Steve Cottrell can certainly bang a few doors.
He's back in football as well now, isn't he? He's just got the Shrewsbury job.
I was going to say. Yeah, Shrewsbury.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's back at Shrewsbury. Yeah, I think Aaron Wilbraham's gone in as his assistant.
Yeah, be a few teacups flying around potentially.
Yeah,
could be.
Andy John says, what do you think, Si? Belgium again, trip to Prague, can't get away from Belgium. It's referring to the Wales group, I think, and we'll discuss that on Friday, the World Cup qualifier groups, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, just because we're getting towards the end of the show now.
Give me a heads up on that one, because I'm you know how much I love my international football.
Well, I'm going to get my clips ready to record you having another rant about international football. It's a shame. Funny enough, to everyone watching, you wouldn't believe it, but when the three of us were chatting before the show tonight, we were just having a chat, and an international football came up, and Andy just went woof. five minutes.
Listen, I love my country. I'm a passionate Englishman. I love watching my country. I represent my country yourself. I just don't get it. I just don't get it now. I don't get it. Nations League. Anybody else puts on in the comment about Nations League, you're getting blocked. I
guarantee you, someone just said, Garen just said, don't start him off. I bet you, Andy John will put Nations League any second now.
I know, they'll be full of it. My dad will do it.
Okay, so to round us off, a couple of things I just wanted to do. If you don't mind, Andy, I'd like to play a 30-second video. Is that okay? Do you mind?
Okay. No.
It's only 30 seconds, and I'll talk about it just after. And there's a reason I want to play it, because when I had this discussion with this person, I was quite shocked by it. Okay. And I think it's important that people see it.
I'm pre-season at Bury, and I was petrified. I was thinking, I can't do this. I don't want to go. I'll ring up and just say. Anyway, I got on the plane, got out there, and just panicked when I was out there. Made it through the first day. Second day, we stayed in these apartment blocks. I was on the top floor of the apartment block, went out into the roof, and I was going to jump. I was stood on the ledge, and I just thought, I can't feel this way anymore. And the thing that stopped me was my daughter and Leona. Didn't want them to grow up without dad or husband.
So that was Chris Kirkland talking about when he was on pre-season tour with Bury at the height of kind of his issues with depression and anxiety. He went to the top of the complex that they were staying at, stood on the edge, and he was going to jump. Now, I know this is a bit of a down way to end the show, but I do truly believe there's such an important thing to talk about. Like, we could have been talking about an ex-England and Liverpool goalkeeper killing himself on a pre-season tour because he wasn't at that point able to get help from whoever, whether it's appropriate authorities, football club people. And I think we've lost people this year to suicide because they felt like there was no other option, and we need to change the way we deal with it. I urge you all to check out the full show with Chris Kirkland. He was so honest, and you could tell it was very difficult for him, but I urge you all to check it out. A really interesting guy, and I was very grateful.
Listen, Si, Michael spoke there quite passionately about lads coming out of football and stuff. You know what I mean? No surprise when we talk about Chris Barker. Obviously, Chris lost his life this year. Obviously, it broke my heart. You know what I mean? Ex-teammate of mine took his own life, and it was. Listen, we need to stop it happening. You know what I mean? If there's a way we can stop it happening, if football clubs can help out a little bit more, fantastic. If agencies can help out a little bit more, and I mean the AFL, the Premier League, the PFA, the FA, I don't know. It could go on. SFA.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd just like to touch on what Brighton are doing. I don't know if you guys are aware of Brighton's. They've got a mental health, or Dan Ashworth, who used to be the head of the FA, is their technical director now, and they've got full. Yeah. They're looking to have a psychologist and a full team of that mental side, and I think a lot of Premier League teams will go down that route at some point. Where you talk about sports scientists, they have a separate bit for mental health, and I think that's what football clubs need. I know they've got that in the EPPP scheme now with younger players, and it's trying for that to become the norm, that players can reach out. Because it is difficult. And I do see, what fans are saying, you're living your dream, but it's result based, and it can change at a flick of a switch. 1 week you're high, 1 week you're low, and it's really difficult for people. And like you say, added with that social media and that sort of pressure as well, I think football clubs themselves need to try and come together. And I think what Brighton are doing down there is really exceptional, and I do think a lot of clubs will follow that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me, it should be the catalyst to start that happening. You know what I mean? And if we can do that sooner rather than later, and everyone following suit, or the Premier League saying this is the model which we're going to copy, then let's go. Let's get it started. Let's go. And every club hire somebody in to do that job. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it's like you say. Hopefully, it's the catalyst. I can't thank all the people who appeared on that show, on that series. The series is finished now. It's 8 episodes. Obviously yourself, Andy, Keith Gillespie, David Cottrell, Chris Kirkland, Walsall captain James Clark, Kevin Twaddle. I think I've left a couple out, but it's really interesting listening to current and ex-footballers, people look up to and watch on TV, their idols, to see them talk about their problems, but also to see them come through it and let people know that there's light at the end of the tunnel if you talk. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's reaching out for help and talking about the things that you're having an issue with. Yeah. Okay. We'll be back Friday, 7:30. Also
talking about Michael again, I'm guessing.
Yeah, talking about Michael. I'm sure we'll let Michael will make a little appearance, because I'm going to clip some of the stuff he said from tonight and put it in on Friday. But also Super Kev Unscripted. We were going to do it tomorrow, then he had to rearrange because he's coaching, which is good news, because it means that football is coming back more and more at grassroots level. So that's going to be rearranged to next week with Kevin McNaughton. But we got lots of good stuff coming. Wednesday, Jack Shaw is on the MMA show, so check that out. Jack Shaw and Richard Shaw, actually. But Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been amazing, mate. Been a superstar.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me on. Really had a good time.
Top man, really appreciate it. Get doing more of these, Michael. You're a star, mate. I promise you. Yeah, doing more.
Yeah, it's been really good. Really interesting to hear you talk and hear different stories and views and stuff. Impressive, mate. I was very impressed and interested. But also, don't forget to tell your teammates that they should come on as well. And everyone who sent in the amazing questions tonight, really top quality questions, been very, very impressed with those tonight. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, everyone who's watched. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. But if you do one thing for us this week, phone or look into Bespoke Financial down Ralston. They're doing some phenomenal offers and cover. Like I say, giving away a free will up to worth £140 with any new policy taken. And with the world as it is, I think insurance and cover is something that we all need. And if you follow my personal social media, I need to get it on TVs, because my kids broke 3 TVs in 48 hours. Happy. Massive thank you to Martin and Black Diamond Sports as well, of course. But most of all, Andy Campbell, I thank you, sir. You are a legend.
My pleasure, mate. Loved it again. Can't wait for more and more. Really appreciate it, Michael. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart, mate. Amazing. Some great anecdotes, some great stories, some honesty. Can't fault it. And good luck with the rest of the season. Good luck with the rest of the career. I truly do hope that you get that Premier League push next season, and we. Well, part of me wants you to stay in the Championship only because I can talk about you, but part of me wants to watch you on Match of the Day as well. So I hope that happens.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Andy, you'll be on Match of the Day. Cheers, guys. See you next week.
Bye.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.